Plastikman is one of the aliases of Richie Hawtin, who is an electronic musician and DJ who's possibly from Banbury, England, or possibly from Canada, or both. Actually, he was born in England and moved to Canada when he was around 9 or 10, I believe. He has many aliases. Plastikman, Concept One, FUSE, Forcept One, Circuit Breaker, Robot Man, Chrome, Sparks, Xenon, RHX, Jackmaster, Richard Michaels, what? And Up with an exclamation mark. But one of his most prominent one for recordings is Plastikman. He's been releasing albums since 1993. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the third album by Richard Hawtin, second under the name Plastikman, and it's my first encounter with this album. It's instrumental electronica music. A while ago in my history of music and categorizing music, I would have called this dancey-trancy. It's listed as being minimal techno, and I think that's a reasonably apt description. It's mostly drum machine and other sounds that have been sequenced and put together. It's mostly percussive sounds with occasional bits of notes in it. It's not music in the sense of tunes. It's much more like a percussive texture, really. So my brother is into contemporary classical music, and he likes to tell me that the real meaning of minimalism is it's not about not having anything in, but it's about slow changes over time, and it's about minimal changes. And I think this does classify as that it slowly evolves over time in the different tracks. It tends to use fairly normal time signatures, but there's quite complex rhythms going on within that, and often down to very small intervals time-wise. So there's a lot going on in what you might think of as a bar often. In this way, it kind of foreshadows the kind of hi-hatty drum stuff that is known as drill. It's not quite the same as that, but it has that kind of complexity to it somewhat. It may be good for dancing. I'm not an expert on dance music. I think probably in a kind of flashing lights kind of nightclubby setting, it might work quite well, especially if you're in a kind of trancey dancing kind of stuff. I found it to be the sort of music that I actually reasonably like to put on for whilst I'm working, or possibly whilst I'm driving, or in the background whilst I'm doing other things. It's not music that demands a lot of attention, and in fact I often find that if you give this kind of music too much attention, that it's not as good. It's not really ambient, and it's nowhere near as ambient as something like the Brian Eno ambient stuff, but it is kind of backgroundy in that sense. I think compared to some electronica, it's a little bit lacking in interesting things going on, and this is where it becomes the kind of minimal idea. But I think also compared with other things that I've listened to that have been labelled as minimal techno, I found it more interesting than some of those. Some of those I just found really dull. So it's okay. I quite liked it, just not a huge amount. And I'd love to know what you think. So please let me know by typing something relevant into the comments box. That's it from me for now.